One major problem we often face as filmmakers is that the places that we're shooting are often boring. The sets next to the places that we live are often empty fields or even uninteresting streets, but there is a solution to fix this and go from a boring set to a cinematic location, and that is with our newly released special tool that allows you to do it very easily in post-production. In this tutorial, I want to talk about matte paintings. So what is a matte painting? Matte paintings, essentially back in the day, the reason why they were called that is that they would get a sheet of glass and paint in front of the camera, and then an artist would go in and paint something and make the set even bigger. But now we don't need to use glass and paint. We can use digital tools like Photoshop. So in this tutorial, we're going to take a look on how to use our brand new Worlds pack, a collection of over 3,500 assets that you can simply drag and drop into your footage to enhance your shots. I'll be focused on the post-apocalyptic collection, and we're going to create 2 shots using different assets from our Worlds pack. So let's hop on over to After Effects and let's get started. All right, so we have this footage of Kevin here on a tropical beach of some kind. Not a tropical beach, just a beach. So let's take this footage, let's drag and drop it into a new composition, just like that. And first thing we're going to do is going to 3D camera track it. I already have made a full breakdown on how to use the camera tracker in another video, but we're going to break down it in this video as well. So first thing we're going to do is track the camera. So we're just going to right click, go to track and stabilize and hit track camera. And then it's going to analyze for a little bit. It's going to figure out how the pixels are moving and do that all for you. And we should be done in 5, 4, 3, 2.
5 minutes later.
All right, so after it's initialized, if you have the 3D camera tracker selected, it has all these points and it will show a little bullseye target thing, and that will show you kind of the angle of those 3 points that it's that you're hovering over. So we know that this is the ground here, and then we have, here, and you can see that it's fitting onto the planes of like this box here, or the cement box. So what we're gonna want to do is let's first make a 3D camera. So I'm going to go create solid in camera. So I'm going to right click like an area here, and you can drag a couple of these as well. I might drag these. Maybe I'll do these ones. I don't know. Create solid in camera. The solid is this there if you play forward, just to see if your track is perfectly tracked, so there's no bumps and bruises, and it seems like it's tracked perfectly. So what we're going to do is now going to bring in some of our VFX from our post-apocalyptic pack. So in the post-apocalyptic pack, there's a few interesting little rocks here called rubble. So it's like just basically some rocks and stuff. So we can make this, look a little bit more post-apocalyptic. So let's drag and drop, I don't know, rubble 36 here. And then let's set this to a 3D object. So right now, if you play, it's not going to be tracked in the scene. That's because if it's not a 3D object, it's a 2D object. So it doesn't know how to move in the scene. So to make it a 3D object, you just go down here to the 3D layer thing, and you click that cube, and now it's a 3D layer. Now, if you play forward, it's tracked into the scene. Not how we want it to, but it's tracked into the scene. So one trick that I taught in the last lesson was that if we want to put this rock, say, about here in this position, a good way of knowing where that is in Z space is this button here. So we know that it's about 1,100 pixels deep into the Z space, because this is the X-axis, this is the Y-axis, this is the Z-axis, and the Z-axis is the one that goes down towards depth, and the X goes up, and the Y goes up, obviously, and the X goes side to side. Math, remember that? Oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. So we're going to hit P on our keyboard to bring up the position of our rubble here, and then we're going to copy the Z depth here, like that. Obviously, I have the rubble turned off, but now if we play forward, it's literally right where that plane is, right? That's right where it's like intersecting right where that thing is. So we're just gonna scale this down. So I'm gonna hit S on my keyboard, scale it down. There we go. That's on my keyboard. I got a new clicky clacky keyboard too, so I apologize if it's loud. And so now we have this piece of rock that he's coming up, and maybe we'll even scale this up and, you know, make this about there. So he's hidden behind the rock and then comes out and ba 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 ba. And then we could turn off the track solid because it doesn't need to be there. It's just there for reference. And look at that. We already made this shot look more interesting, at least. So let's even go in here and create another, throw in another rubble thing in the background. I'm going to click our footage again and click the 3D camera tracker. Let's turn off that rubble. And I want a piece of rock. I want that rock like right here in this background. So I'm going to find that little, like a point in that general area, hit create null, and then a little tiny null will be created where that is. And then you can hit P on your keyboard and kind of steal that Z information for that position. Obviously, it only has the X and Y because it's still a 2D layer. So if you add that 3D-ness to it, it will actually, you know, give you a third option, which is that third number. And let's turn it on. You can see that it goes deep into the background, just like that. And it also respects that it's behind this thing. It doesn't matter if this is on top or below because it's 3D object and it's using the depth of your camera. All right, so now we're gonna scale this down, and I want to not have to rotoscope. So I'm just going to find a spot where I don't have to rotoscope. Is it laziness? No, it's just smart. Okay, so now we have the two shots tracked in, or the two rocks tracked in. Looks pretty cool. I might actually raise this up a little bit. There we go. And now that looks locked into the frame. All right, so the biggest thing about this is that it's not color matched, right? We don't have these things color matched. And it's actually kind of easy to match them because there's a few little tricks. So first thing, it's too bright. So what I like to do is add, usually a lumetri effect can work. Lumetri. So if you drag and drop that onto your thing, and I usually like to use lumetri because it just has all the settings just kind of baked into the thing. So you have exposure, which is something we're going to need to lower for sure. One effect that I do like to use a lot is tritone, which is basically, if you've ever used the tint effect, it's basically the tint effect, but instead of just having a white and a black point, it has a middle tone as well. So we can use this mid-tone and even just drag and drop select an area. And if you hit control, your eyedropper will get a little fat. And that's just going to sample a bigger amount of colors and kind of average them together. And that's good to use in a situation like this. And there we go. So now it's kind of more matched. And then there's also this blend with original. So basically the midtones are like, you know, you can pick a midtone in here, and the blacks, you can literally go in here and go, okay, so the shadow, this is the shadow, hit, you know, go there. And then the brightest bright would probably be this like highlight on this rock here. Click that. And it looks pretty all right. But what you can usually do is just use that to blend it in slightly and use the blend with original, and you can add that color. And already that looks a lot better. Then you can just copy and paste this onto the other rubble. And bang, bang, boom. You got a cool shot. But we can also use, for the gunfire, our MI6 pack, we can add some muzzle flashes. So in our MI6 pack, we have this rifle shot. And we're just going to drag that into about where he starts shooting. So he starts shooting about here. And then obviously it's in 4K, so it's going to be really big. So we're just going to scale that down, fit it over top. Sometimes I like for muzzle flashes to switch the transfer mode. So if you don't see it, it's It's usually here and it has like normal, but I usually like to switch it to add because it makes the image behind it brighter. And you can even make this a 3D layer and track it into the scene if you want. That might be overkill. You could probably just do that by hand, just track in the shot, but it actually makes it our life a lot easier. Right there. So yeah, there you go. A really sick shot. All right, so that's the first shot, and I want to talk about the second shot, which is this cool shot of Anne walking to nothing, but we're going to put a broken helicopter in it to make it seem like it's a different world, right? Because for this one, this is just a regular old beach, but with these rocks, it feels post-apocalyptic and almost sci-fi. But with the helicopter scene, if we add a helicopter to it, like a broken helicopter, it looks like a zombie movie. It changes the feeling. So let's start from scratch. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to 3D camera track it again. And I already went over this, but again, it's going to track and stabilize and go to track camera. And it's going to take a second to analyze. And again, it will have all these points. And let's... And an interesting part about the 3D camera tracker is it can actually track 2D sequences where there is no camera depth. And right here, you can see that this target isn't actually following the depth of the scene like it was in the other shot because the camera wasn't moving in Z space. So it was very hard for it to actually track any depth. But it basically is a 2D camera tracker at that point, just a little faster, and you don't have to do any manual work. So you can just select this and hit create. Let's just do null in camera. And it will create a null object that's tracked perfectly. All right, so let's add the helicopter to this shot. So this is the helicopter wreck. It's also in the Apocalypse pack. And again, it's a 2D layer, so it's not going to track into this. So you still need to make this a 3D object by going here. And again, if you're not seeing this little cube here, this cube section, just hit toggle switches and modes. And if you're on this, you can switch it, and there you go. Now, if you play, it's actually tracked into the scene. So let's scale this down and put it in a cool spot and make it realistically sized. I have literally no clue how big helicopters are, but I think they're about that big. All right, cool. So a couple problems with this, right? It needs to be color matched, and she needs to be rotoscoped in front of that. So let's first rotoscope it, because that's the biggest problem in my book. Because this is how After Effects works. The image is in front of the image below. So we need to create a separate layer that's cutting her out to put on top. So if you hit Control D or Command D on a Mac, you can duplicate your footage and put it over top of your helicopter wreck. And now the helicopter's gone, but it's there. And if you lower the opacity, it is there. But what we need to do is just rotoscope her out. So I'm going to use one of the most powerful tools as well in After Effects, the Rotobrush tool. So we're going to double click on this, and this will take you up to the layer menu if you have the Rotobrush tool selected on the top. Then what I like to do, let's up the exposure a little bit. So if you go down to this little aperture, adjust the exposure. It just adjusts the exposure for preview purposes. It doesn't adjust the exposure for your render. It's just so you can view dark things better. So we're just going to follow this. We're going to paint in just by right-clicking or left-clicking. Yeah, I don't know my left and rights apparently. And I'm just going to paint in all this stuff that we want to see. And then if you hit Alt on your keyboard, you can remove things as well. So see, it's like just eating into some of the stuff we don't want to see. And there's a lot of detail in this background, so it's just a little confused, and that's all right. We're just going to give it a little bit of a help because it's just a machine. The machines need some help. And we don't have to go too detailed in the back, but I'm going to. Who cares? Face looks good. All right, so we're going to play this forward. All right, so it's going to do its best to guess what you painted in, how it's moving in the frame, using some sort of black magic that I will never understand in my lifetime. Looks awesome. So to make sure that this is all baked in, you just hit the button freeze. And that's going to freeze every single frame, so it won't have to update anymore, like it's locked in. Thus, freeze.
Freeze!
All right, so now that that's done, if we go back to our composition, we'll now see that she is in front of the helicopter, which is awesome. So that's the first problem done and solved. But there's still the issue of the fact that this kind of doesn't look right. And for use of teaching, I think I'm going to show you how After Effects is awesome, that you can do things 20 different ways. So I'm going to, instead of using Lumetri, I'm going to use Curves. And Curves is just a tool where you can mess with color and RGB values as well, where this top part is the highlights, so I can make it brighter or darker if it goes down, and at the bottom is dark. So it's basically this linear line that indicates blacks and whites at the top. And so you can lift the midtones just in the middle like that. So see, that's a very easy thing to do. So for this one, the highlights are pretty bright, so I'm going to bring that dot bump down to match the scene a little bit, and then I'm going to lower the midtones as well. And now this is for RGB, so this just shows like the darkness and brightness levels. But you can also change individual channels like red, green, and blue, and even alpha, but we're not going to mess with that. So here I can kind of tell that this is a little too green. So if we go to the green channel, and let's just make a point and click this and lower that, and you can tell, so if I raise this, it's going to get more green, and lower this, it's going to get less. So just a little adjustment right there. And then we can also go to the blue channel and see that the highlights need a little bit more blue, just like that, and the shadows need a little bit more blue, and also the midtones might be too blue. And then another interesting thing is the opposite of red is blue, so if you bring the red down, it's going to get a little bit more blue. So I think I'm going to bring the red down just a hair, and I'm even going to lower the highlights of this helicopter even more, and there you go. I also think we can do another effect of doing the tritone. So let's add the tritone, and let's do it in this way. So we know that the highlight of highlights should probably be this white thing right here, or probably this white in the background. So it's like the brightest bright should be this white in the background. So I'm just going to click that, hit Control to sample more white, just like that. And then the midtones would probably be pretty much this gray pavement right here. And then the darkest darks would probably be just a shadow, maybe like right here. I'll take that. Maybe there's a darker shadow. Oh yeah, let's use this shadow here. All right, so obviously this looks ridiculous, but if we just lower the blend with original just a hair and maybe lift the midtones a bit, that's going to blend a lot better. And let me just turn off the color effects here. And just the difference that that's making, really just using your eye and just kind of going, oh, that doesn't look about right, because you're just kind of using this to inform the scene. I also think we're going to lift the blacks a little bit by raising the bottom point of the RGB. And then you can actually see this shadow here. If we raise that up, it's like getting a little more gray, right? So we're going to lower that to be something like that. And right there looks pretty realistic to me. And we've rotoscoped it, we've tracked it, and all, the easiest thing that this effect shot was adding in the helicopter from our packs. Also, let me just point out there's a lot more in our packs, like bridges, like broken bridges, and they're all have alpha channel and they're all easy to use. There's buildings and dead trees and all that stuff. And that's just in the post-apocalyptic pack. There's also a sci-fi pack and a planets pack. So just go in there. If you want to grab some of them for yourself, go check them out, because back in the day you would have to paint this by hand, and now you can just drag and drop them for you. Cool. I hope y'all learned something, and I want you all to have a very, very nice day. I appreciate y'all. Bye.